Well, you're joining us again in the First Time Buyer Tribe, powered by Kate Faulkner's checklists for first-time buyers. And Kate, one of the choices that a first-time buyer will have to make is whether to go for a new build property or a pre-owned property. And of course there are pros and cons for both. But if we focus on new build specifically, I'm actually a big fan of buying new build for a number of reasons, but I think mostly because, first of all, they are done to building standards. They have to be completed to certain regulatory standards. What are your thoughts on buying new build?
So I'll be really honest with you, I'm a kind of old property kind of gal. And I'd have never, back in sort of 2000 when I first started doing property, I'd have never recommended a new build. But I have to say, I have worked with the new build industry, and I have looked at the numbers now as well, and you look at the government schemes that are available, and suddenly new build is a much more sensible option. We also know from the tenant market that tenants do like new build a lot more because they have less maintenance problems.
Exactly.
So my view of new build now is, in particular, because of the government Help to Buy scheme, not just focus on first-time buyers, but in England it is different for each country, which makes it complicated. But you can buy a new build property up to £600,000 under the Help to Buy scheme. And what that means is that you need to find 5% as a first-time buyer, or as buying into the new build scheme. The government will give you a 20% free loan for 5 years, and then you get a mortgage for 75%. Now the advantages of this is the 75% mortgage, as opposed to a 95% mortgage, means that you're onto the kind of really good rates that lenders offer, so that'll should lower your monthly payments. The second side of it is you get a free loan from the government. Well, you don't normally get much free from the government, and that's for 5 years. You do have to pay interest on it afterwards, so you need to understand, if you're staying there for 10 years, how long that would pay you. But the beauty of it is, all these things we hear about, people finding 15, 20, 25% deposit, you don't need to worry. You just need 5%. So on a £200,000 property, you can find 10 grand, and in actual fact, you don't even need to find £10,000 because there is a scheme before that will add 25% to any of your savings. So there's the Help to Buy and there's the Lifetime ISA. So in actual fact, you don't even need 10 grand potentially. If you can find a property for £200,000, you put down the low deposit. And once you're in that property, you don't have the £500 to £1,000 or more maintenance bills, and your utility bills, which of course, we all talk about property being expensive. Well, they are definitely increasing in cost. So it keeps your monthly costs down. So in actual fact, getting on the ladder through the Help to Buy scheme in particular means that you can save quicker, potentially then for trading up at a later date. You do need to investigate the Help to Buy scheme, but when you're buying into a new build, there are definitely better advantages than there were maybe 15 or 20 years ago. And it's really worth, don't dismiss them out of hand. Definitely go and have a look, because actually a lot of them aren't the boxes that were built in the past. And they're built really carefully, as you say, and they're all different shapes and sizes, so you're not all stuck in the same size property, and they understand that it's important to be near green space, etc. So if you are thinking of buying property, certainly as a first-time buyer, don't say I'm not going to buy new build. Only say it when you've been out and seen a few sites.
Quite, totally agree. And there's some, developers are making lots of offers if it's coming to the end of the site and they need to, offload the last few properties. There are deals to be done direct with the developer.
Yeah, well, something that investors are used to doing, but something that first-time buyers are very nervous of is making offers. And if you're in a busy market, it is tough to do. But do you know what? If there are already 2 properties left, see what the others have sold for, make a cheeky offer and see what happens, because that, if the show home sort of site development and everything, and you see that sales room, that costs the developer money. So, and the other time is at their half year and end of year. So you can make some deals then potentially. So be savvy, be cheeky. The worst thing they'll do is say no, smile, and then tell you what they will accept.
Quite good advice there. I think the other thing is we do hear the horror stories of the poor quality of some new builds, and actually we can't even say it's any one developer is to blame, because in my opinion it very much depends who the site manager is and how he's maintaining standards. So one thing I would recommend is, yes, do go and look at finished products of that developer and kind of get a feel for the quality, but also employ a professional snagger.
Yes.
That is somebody who comes in and goes around the entire property with literally a fine tooth comb and picks up all the defects that need remedying before you move in, because the developer has a legal obligation to repair and put right any snags within a certain time frame, and you need to jump on that, because otherwise if it falls out of that time frame, then you'll have to pay for them yourself.
Yeah, so, and it's a very complicated relationship, because you have the new build warranty.
Yes.
And typically that help doesn't kick in till after the first 2 years. The developer is responsible for the first
That's
2
correct,
years.
yeah.
However, if the developer isn't responding, you should go to the warranty provider. But I have had cases where people still aren't happy and still haven't had stuff fixed.
Mm-hmm.
The only way the best way of doing that is preventing that from happening from the start. So what you do is you talk to your legal company and ask them to agree with the developer that before completion, a snagging person will go in, do those checks, and if the work isn't done within a period of time, or then potentially you can withhold the money. So say it's 10 grand's worth of work, you can withhold that or delay the completion. Developers won't want that to happen. They will make you the priority to get fixed. So it is a problem for some people, and I have had some horror stories. So do make sure that you put that extra sort of safety catch, if you like, in place.
Yeah. Well, as always, Kate, fantastic advice, and we have got a checklist for you produced by Kate, which is all about the pros and cons of buying new build, and we've put a link below this video for you to access that checklist. And I think, as we've both said, keep an open mind, because they're definitely worth considering for the reasons that Kate has given, and big thing as well, as you mentioned, very low maintenance to start out, so you probably wouldn't have any major maintenance or repair work for maybe 5 to 10 years. And of course they can be customized a little bit as well, choosing kitchens and flooring and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, definitely.